Good evening and welcome to this special broadcast. I'm Christoph J. Wyman, your host of It's Your Time to Shine. It is December 2nd, 2022. It is 12/2/2022, and I am super excited. No, I do not have a guest tonight, unless somebody pops in and I bring them on screen. But I am coming to you live tonight because today is a very, very significant day in my life, in my history. And one thing I want to just tell you is I love memories on Facebook because they remind us. They remind us of things that happened in the past, and they archive them and they pop up. And I did not have it in my mind. I did not have, I don't often remember this date. I don't celebrate this date. But now that it is my 10th year anniversary of this date, I think maybe I will remember what December 2nd is. So what is December 2nd for Christoph J. Wyman? And as we're here, I see already there are some people that are tuning in. If you have some comments or questions, you're welcome to share those in the chat. We are broadcasting on 3 different platforms. We're on LinkedIn, where I have about 15,000 connections there. We're broadcasting on my YouTube channel as well as on Facebook. And if you gain value from this time that we spend together, I would love for you to share this post, share this stream to people that would love to watch this. So what is significant about December 2nd, 10 years ago? Well, 10 years ago today, I packed up as many of my earthly possessions as I could into my Kia Sorrento, had already sold or given away as much as I could. And I got in my car. I kissed my new love of my life, Michelle, goodbye. I was in St. Louis at the time. That's where I met Michelle. I had actually been living there for about 7 years after leaving St. Louis, or after leaving Los Angeles. And I was about to embark on a journey to move to, you got it, you know it. If you're watching, you know where I am, you know where I've been, to Vegas, baby. Yes, yes, yes. That is the story. 10 years ago. 10 years ago. Why did I move to Las Vegas? What precipitated that? What initiated it? What pushed it forward? I embarked on this journey. Now, when I left St. Louis, I had less than $1,000 to my name. I probably had, I don't know the exact amount. I journal all the time. I know that I have a journal somewhere in a box, not in storage, but somewhere in this house, in the garage, and somewhere that I wrote that night before. I'm going to Las Vegas. I'm sure I wrote down how much money I had, but I know it wasn't much. I had very little money. I had no place to stay immediately. I had no job waiting for me. What I did have was a dream. I had a dream and a goal and a conviction in my mind, in my heart, that there was something better, that there was something more for me. And that's what I went with. And it was not the perfect timing for me. I had spent 7 years in Las Vegas, in St. Louis. 7 years. I had dated one woman for a period of time. But other than that, for the 7 years that I was there, I was single. I wasn't necessarily looking, but I certainly was open, wanting to connect with someone, to find someone. And I think that is one of the reasons why God had me stay in St. Louis for so long, because I met Michelle, who you know, if you know me, you're watching, you know she is my wife. We just celebrated our 9-year anniversary. Well, I didn't meet her until November 9th, 2012. We had our first date on November 11th, I believe. And here, December 2nd, I'm leaving to go to Las Vegas. Now, it wasn't the case when I met her. When I met her, I had this wonderful job. I was working in staffing and recruiting with a great company. I was doing really well. Everything is relative, isn't it? I had a base salary, I had commissions. And with staffing and recruiting, like many industries, it's not a here and now immediate in the moment sale. It's more of a relationship building. This is true with a lot of industries where you call on prospective clients and you build connection with them and get to know them and share value with them. We used to drop off content-based literature that could help them with their businesses about, just different booklets or training manuals or things that help companies with retention or with employee satisfaction or customer service or things like that. It wasn't really a matter of sitting down with the prospect and saying, here's our presentation, and then do you want to sign up today? Because it always depended upon if the company had a need, whether they needed temporary or long-term or medium length of service of recruits. So the point of the story is, why am I sharing that with you? Is because I worked for this company for 2.5 years. I put my time in. I was very dedicated. I was very loyal. I was very professional. And I worked my butt off. I would call on we were required to call on at least 20 companies a day in person, not making 20 phone calls. That was additional. 20 companies I would drive to. Some of them I had appointments with. Some of them were just drop-ins. Hey, it's Christoph. And then you got to get through the gatekeeper. Why are you here? Do you have an appointment? Oh, they know who I am. I have something for Jim. That was something I told him I would be by. Learning all these and using all these different tactics and techniques to get in front of the decision maker. Well, after courting one particular company, a food processing and distribution company, after 1.5 years of hard work, of calling on them, of being at their service, of providing a little bit of opportunity for them, they did use our service to a small degree. But after 1.5 years, their main supplier of talent screwed up. They messed up royally. It cost the company a lot of money, caused a lot of problems. And when they were ready to look for another supplier of talent, both short-term temporary staff as well as long-term high-level management, I was ready. My team, my company that I was representing, that I was working for, they called me. I was pretty excited about it. I landed the big client, and this was going to be great for all of us, for my boss, for the team, for our client, and for me. It was going to be continual residual commission month after month, week after week. And I was so excited about it. I had worked so hard to get this, not work for a promotion, but work to land. I live in Las Vegas. You could say a whale. That it wasn't a casino gambler, but it was a whale of a client. And I was so excited. And my boss loved it. I mean, they got great applause, And then they had to work out all the paperwork, and it was going to take a few weeks for the deal to be completely sealed and all the details and all of that. But then something happened. Over a short period of time, my boss started being a little bit, I don't even know what the word is, putting up some walls. This happens quite often in sales companies, especially when there's commission involved. In a lot of most sales companies, there is some commission structure. So what ultimately happened is that my boss realized, this is my perception, but I believe it's the reality. My boss realized that with this big client that I just landed for them, not only was it going to bring them more business and more income for them, he was realizing how big the commission checks were about to be that I was going to be due every 2 weeks. Wow. All of a sudden, Christoph is at the top of the charts on the board. And man, that was going to be coming in. And I was excited about it. I worked hard. I wasn't stopping. That was just one client, but it was a big client. After 2.5 years, to be able to have that moment to breathe. Well, met Michelle on November 9th. I told her I had such a wonderful job. I told her, I'm pretty sure that I told her that I had landed this new client or I had just landed it. I don't know the exact dates. But somewhere after November 9th, well, November 11th, when we had our first date, and Thanksgiving, I was called into the office. Christoph, come on in. Sit down. Close the door. There's my boss with another member of the company as a witness. And I said, oh my gosh. This is not the first time I've ever experienced this. Has anybody ever been fired? Have any of you watching, have you ever been let go? If you have, put it in the chat. You know what it's like. You know what it's like. It's not a fun feeling. And the thing is, even if you know it's going to happen, it's not fun. And anyway, the point is, I was brought in the office, and the boss said, this is not going to work out. And they started telling me things that I wasn't doing right or about my attitude or things like that. And ultimately there was, whatever the reasons were, I did not do anything immoral or illegal or anything like that. The reality is, in my opinion, and my perception is that they did not want to going forward, pay me the ongoing commission that was going to be due me as a result of this new client. That's the only thing that I can figure out. I've been with them 2.5 years. So right before Thanksgiving, what the hell? Right before Thanksgiving, I get let go. Oh my gosh. What? Oh man. What a way to go into the holiday weekend. Well, what I didn't mention is that prior to that time, for about a year or so, I had been planning on leaving St. Louis. I had been thinking about it. I had been dreaming, talking about it, saying it out loud, but not really doing a lot to take action on it. I said, I'm moving to Las Vegas. That was my plan. That's what I was going to do. I had already started writing my first book, which eventually was published now 7 years ago, called Getting to Wow. I'll talk more about that later or at another episode in this series. But I had been talking out loud, saying I'm going to Las Vegas, but I didn't do anything about it. Be careful of what you say you're going to do. Be careful of what you put out as your intentions, because if you don't take action, it is very possible and very likely, as I've seen in my life many times, that the universe can conspire for you or against you to present opportunities and situations to make that happen. Because here's what happened. The company I was working with is a franchise. They have branches all around the country. They had and have still branches in Las Vegas. I called the branch in Las Vegas. I had a phone interview. They loved what I shared with them about what I'd been doing in St. Louis for the company. They loved my numbers. And I don't believe I had landed the big client yet. I'm not sure. Not sure. It's 10 years ago. And so that person, the owner of the franchise, the president of the Las Vegas branch, said, well, awesome. I can't hire. I love everything I'm hearing. Sounds great. We definitely have a need. And you seem like the kind of person that we would like to hire, but I can't hire you sight unseen. I can't hire you. And this was before the days of Zoom. So people were not doing video interviews very often or very frequently or as a norm. It was just phone calls. I faxed my resume to him. And I said, no problem. I mean, I'll come out to Vegas. He said, well, when can you come? I said, well, I mean, I got a job here. And I mean, I can't just get on a plane and just go to Las Vegas anytime. I don't know why I said that. I could have, right? But I didn't. But the opportunity was there. The opportunity was there, and I was excited for it. Well, guess what? When I got let go, I called up the guy in Las Vegas, Jeff. I called him up. I said, hey, Jeff, hey, I can come out. I can come out to Las Vegas. He said, why? What happened? I said, well, things aren't working out here in St. Louis. So here now I'm faced with that situation of being let go from the company and having an opportunity at the same company and having to share my referrals or references from the boss that just let me go. And it was another uncomfortable situation. Like, I don't want him to talk about me because clearly he doesn't see the value of keeping me. So what's he going to say about me? But then you know what? I wasn't worried because I knew what I had done and I knew the value that I had brought to this company. And uncomfortable as it was for me to have the thought that my new potential boss was going to be conversing with my boss who just let me go, turns out the new guy said that my previous boss told him that I saved his ass. Because as a franchisee, franchisees have a responsibility to the parent company. And if they are not performing, they can lose their franchise. Well, when I started at that company, they had 4 years of slumps. Like they were ready to be shut down. And I helped invigorate and bring in the sales and energize that company. And even though this boss let me go, at least he had the ethics or the integrity to not speak ill of me and really tell the truth. And I was thankful for that. Now, this boss that let me go, I really appreciated and respected and admired and learned a lot from. He's the first person who exposed me to LinkedIn. He was a LinkedIn fiend. It's also the first time that I got a smartphone. And I was grateful for it. Also, the very first entrepreneurial seminar that I ever went to, from T. Harv Eker, Millionaire Mind Intensive in San Diego. I went there when I was employed at that company in St. Louis. And I asked my boss for the time off. This was probably a year before I got let go. I asked my boss for the time off, maybe less, I don't know. And he said, well, what's it all about? What is it? I told him, I showed him. And it wasn't necessarily a sales conference. It wasn't at all. And it wasn't a business conference that was directly related to me being an employee. But that boss, I still really respect this. He said, look, if you're going to invest in yourself and better yourself and go to an event, to a seminar like this, then I will contribute to it. He paid half of my expenses, half my airfare and accommodations to go to Millionaire Mind Intensive, because I know that he knew in his mind that if I'm going there to better myself, clearly it's going to play out also in my work when I show up at work. So that was a really nice thing that he had done. All right, let's go back to December 2nd, 2012. Well, actually, after I got let go, Michelle and I had just met. We'd been together for a couple of weeks. We were inseparable. It was a magic spark from the beginning. And I didn't want to tell her that day that I was let go. I had just painted we just got started. I not painted, but I shared with her, hey, I'm not a loser in so many words. I showed my best side, my charm, my charisma. And yes, I have a good job and I'm making money and I have a future and potential and all of that. I didn't want to spoil this new relationship by telling her, guess what? That great job? Yeah, it's done. It's over. I'm out. But at the end of the day, I did tell her, at the end of that day, I said, we can go out tonight if you want because I don't have to be up in the morning. She's a nurse. She's been a nurse for 30 years. And she's not one to call in sick. She is not one to take sick days. And she called in sick for the next day. I said, why? She said, I just want to spend the day with you. Just want to spend the day with you. I thought, yeah, but you got to go to work. We had known each other for 3 weeks. So we spent the day together. Went to Bar Louie, went to the St. Louis Zoo. Just had fun. I didn't have work to think about. And during the day that we were together, 3 times, prospective clients that I had been calling on for weeks or months previously called me. Because, of course, we use our cell phone. They don't call the office looking for us. We are the representative of the company. They don't even necessarily have the number to the company. And the first time I said, well, hey, thanks so much. They needed our services, but I was no longer with them. I called the office. I said, hey, Jim, hey, ABC company, now they're ready to order. They need staff. They need talent. I'm connecting you with them. Here's the info. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, great. I told the company, I'm not there anymore, but here, I'll take care of it for you so that you have the right handoff. Second time, same thing happened. Third time, the person at my previous office says, Christoph, I can't keep taking these phone calls for you. I can't keep taking and fielding your sales. What? So hold on. You can't keep taking these calls for me? I don't work there anymore. These aren't my sales. I am being a person of integrity and not saying just screw off to the company or speak ill about my previous company. I'm putting the two of you together. I'm continuing to bring in sales. And oh, by the way, the reason that my boss told me that he let me go is because I wasn't making enough sales. Yeah. The quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty you can comfortably live with. The quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty that you can live with. Tony Robbins. Think about that. Uncertainty. Well, I'll tell you what, at that time, end of November 2012, first days of December 2012, I had lots of uncertainty. But I had been saying for a long time, I'm going to Vegas. I had already started writing my book. I already told you that. But I didn't do other things to take action. I made a call to the company in Vegas and had that phone interview, but I didn't take action like, okay, let me get a plane book so I can come out next week or next weekend or 2 weeks or whatever and have that face-to-face interview. Why? Was it fear? Was it because I didn't want to tell my boss that I was leaving? They didn't have any fear about letting me go. They didn't worry about my feelings. Oftentimes, I think when we are in a position, we are worried about what other people are going to think, what other people are going to say, what our employer is going to say. But you've got to do what's good and right for you. And sometimes circumstances have to transpire in a certain way in order for you to be pushed, to be put into a corner. Until that happened, I didn't really make plans to move to Vegas. But now here it is, a couple days before Thanksgiving, I met the love of my life. And if I were a younger man, I've said this quite a few times, if I was a younger man, I probably would have said to Michelle, you know what? I'm not going to Vegas. We're in love. We just met. I got to stay here. We've got to build this relationship. But I knew in my heart I needed to go. I knew that I needed to go. And that's nothing against her or against our new growing relationship. But in order for that relationship to grow, to thrive, to become what it ultimately had become, is becoming, is now, I needed to take care of me. I needed to find my path. I know I wasn't meant to stay in St. Louis indefinitely. And so I had to follow what was laid out before me. I had a dream. I had a dream and a goal and a vision. I was going to go to St. Louis, to Las Vegas, and I was going to become a speaker. I was going to become, I've often in the past thought, I'm going to become the next Anthony Robbins, the next Tony Robbins. A lot of people have said that, right? A lot of people say, I'm going to be, not me, but about yourself. I've heard people say that. The reality is the world doesn't need another Tony Robbins. They need another you. They need the next authentic you. They don't need another Tony Robbins. They need the next Christoph J. Wyman. They need Christoph J. Wyman. But my goal was to go to Las Vegas and pursue this, to become an entrepreneur, write my book so that my book could open up doors of opportunity so that I could be expert in the service and hospitality industry. And that's exactly what happened. And I'm not going to share all the details with that. I've got somebody talking. Welcome, team. I got people watching. Woo! Robert Pazzola. Hey, my friend. Is this Bill? No, I'm not Bill. It's Christoph. How are you? Yes, yes. Prof. McDuffie says, I've been let go 4 times. Yeah. Isn't that interesting how they coin or how they phrase it? We're going to let you go. We're going to do this for you. This is an opportunity. We're helping you out. And it's painful. It is really painful. It's frustrating. It's sometimes it's embarrassing because we wonder what people think of us. At least for me, I wasn't proud. I didn't come, go home and then call up Michelle and say, hey, guess what? I got fired from my job. Woo! I did not. I was meek and sheepish and shy about it. I waited till the end of the day before I mentioned it. How many of you have experienced something like that, where you're at a job, you put your heart and your soul into it. You show up, you commit yourself, you're loyal, you're dedicated, you're professional. And then you're done. It's not working out. Usually it's with very little notice. Employers don't have to give you 2 weeks notice, but we got to give them 2 weeks notice, or at least that's how it used to be. Oh my gosh, my friends. Joanna Bricker-Clyer, nice to see you here. How much uncertainty can you live with? That is the question, right, Prof. McDuffie? How much uncertainty? And I don't know if I agree 100% with that quote, but I shared it because it was the quote that was on my Facebook post that I did on this day 10 years ago when I embarked on this journey of becoming an entrepreneur, of moving locations. So I had a dream. And I love acronyms, and so I want to share this with you. Number one, with the dream, a D, the D has to stand for, at least for me, is the decision. I had talked about going to Las Vegas. I had talked about moving to Las Vegas, but I hadn't done anything. And until you make the decision, the dream cannot come to fruition. I like that. That's a good rhyme. Until you make the decision, the dream cannot come to fruition. So we got to make the decision first. The decision is the key. I made the decision. So what did I do? First of all, I looked at all the stuff that I had in my little apartment in St. Louis and decided, what do I want to keep? What can I take with me? What can I sell? What do I give away? I made a decision. What day? I just started this new relationship. Michelle and I just started this new relationship. When do I go? Do I wait a week, 2 weeks, a month? Well, how much money do I have? What can sustain me? I need to move forward. I need to go to the next step so that I can create this new opportunity for myself. So sticking around St. Louis, while wonderful it would have been, I knew I needed to go relatively soon. So I think it was probably less than 10 days. You have to make the decision. Decision is the precursor to everything else. Yes, you have to have the mindset. You have to have the conviction, but the decision is what starts to put it into play. R, you got to recognize where you're at. You got to recognize the circumstances, the situation, the reality of it. Recognize where you're at and where you're going. And for me, the other R, of course, was relationship. The relationship that I had with Michelle and have. If I had I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller, and I'm not a past potential history teller. But I do feel in my heart that if I had stayed in St. Louis, life would not be the same. Life would not have been follow the path that I'm on now. I knew that I needed to be in a different location. E, you've got to envision your outcome. You've got to envision where you're going. It took me 3 days to drive from St. Louis to Las Vegas. 3 days. I had to envision, I had to picture. What is my goal? What is my intention? What is it that I'm after? I know I have a job interview ahead of me, but I was even looking beyond that. I had my book that I had started writing, but I had not finished it yet. It took me 6.5 years to write my first book. 6.5 years. Now, you might say, wow, that's a long time. It is. But guess what? I wrote my first book. How about you? Where's your first book? I'm not bragging. Grant Cardone says it's not bragging or boasting if it's true. It's not bragging or boasting if it's true. I wrote my first book. It took me 6.5 years. But I got it done. That's another part of the story. That's down the road. But 3 days to drive from Vegas. I'm from St. Louis to Vegas. I had to envision what my outcome was. I knew that if I could get in front of that owner, that president of the company, of that franchise in Vegas, I knew in my heart, I knew with confidence that they would hire me. They would hire me. So I had to have that belief. E, elevate your mindset. You've got to shift out of this. It would be very easy for me along the drive, for me to be thinking about, oh man, you know what? Did I make a right decision? I just left St. Louis. At least I know people there. I had spent 7 years there. So obviously I have relationships. I have people that I know. There are many companies I could have gone to and applied for a job for. Those companies that I called on, they knew me, they respected me. I'm sure that I could have gotten a job. It would have been easy for me to be thinking like that. It would have been easy for me to think, did I make the right decision? Am I making the biggest mistake of my life? I'm driving to Las Vegas with less than $1,000 in my pocket. I got nowhere to stay. I have friends that said I could stay, but it's not like land there, arrive in Las Vegas, and I'm going to come to their house. Eventually, my friends, Marlo and Crosby, I did come and stay with them for a while, a couple of weeks, I believe. But I didn't have something waiting for me. I didn't have a job, so I didn't have income coming. I had no residual anything. And I will say I didn't have a lot of support. I was pretty much on my own. But I had excitement too. Oh my gosh, I was so excited. I felt like, wow, this is a new chapter of my journey. Something amazing is bound to happen. Clearly I took action. If you're not taking action, the dream remains a dream. The goal is just a dream if you don't have a plan of action. I took action. I took massive, immediate action, like Tony Robbins likes to teach. Take immediate, massive action. See, a lot of times we plan things, and planning is important and planning is great. I didn't even plan where I was going to stay. I didn't look up. I ended up going to one of those week to week kind of places, not in the best part of Vegas. On a place called Boulder Highway. It was a rough area, but it's what I knew I could afford. And that's where I went. And I was there for a few weeks or a couple weeks. Sometimes we plan so much that it creates inaction because we got to figure out all the details. We got to make sure that we have contingent, and all those things are important. But you got to take action. This is the reality of it. You don't take action, nothing happens. 10 years ago today, December 2nd, I took action. If I hadn't, my life would not be what it is today. Am I still moving forward? Yes. Do I still have goals and dreams? Of course. I'm not saying I've made it, but I tell you what, I'm in a different situation than I was 10 years ago. As I mentioned, Michelle and I just celebrated our 9-year anniversary. 9 years. It's not been easy, but it's been awesome. And now our journey, our goal is to launch her. She's already starting her podcast. It's going to launch in January. She's already starting a collaboration book that's going to launch soon, beginning of the year. At the same time, she's still at her job as a leader in the hospital. She's been in the hospital industry for 30 years. It's time for her next step. And I'm so excited. And for any of you who are thinking, well, I would love to do whatever it is, write a book, start your own business, start a nonprofit, whatever your goal, your dream, your vision is, work towards it a little bit every single day. Work towards it every day or every week. Set aside a little bit of time. Set aside a little bit of time so that you can make the dream a reality, that it can manifest. Manifestation. The dream eventually manifests. It eventually comes true. You got to make it happen. The other M for me is the word me. When I got in my Kia Sorrento, I just started this mantra saying, it's my time. It's my time. It's my time. It's my time for my goals to come to pass. It's my time to follow my passion, my pursuits. It's my time to move forward. Not to say that I don't want to serve others, but sometimes when you work for other people, you're building their dreams. I mean, a lot of times that's the reality. You're building their dream instead of your own. So I am so excited. I have much more to share about this story, what happened 10 years ago, because once I got to Las Vegas, well, there were lots of challenges, lots of ups and downs, lots of ups and downs. It's just a pleasure, a joy. I was on a call with a coaching group that I'm a part of, and in the breakout today, we got to share something, and I was excited that I got to share. The question was, tell us a time of when something scared you and you did it anyway. Well, I'll tell you. When I left St. Louis, yeah, I was scared. I had some trepidation, but I didn't let that drown out the excitement and the focus and the commitment to the goal and the dream. It's okay to feel a little bit afraid. It's okay to not know the answers. It's okay to feel a little, trepidation, like I said. But don't let it hold you back. Don't let it become a limiting belief. Don't let it be something that causes you to regret not taking action, not making the decision. Recognize where you're at. Sometimes you just have to change your environment. It's not always true, but it was sure true for me. I needed to change my environment. I needed to get to a place where I was in a place that was suited for me and where I could flourish. And for me, it happened to be Las Vegas. And for Michelle, eventually too, as well, because, as a nurse, well, she's at the top of her game wherever she's been. And nurses can work anywhere in the world. And especially if they're really, really great, they can write their ticket. My friends, whatever it is that is in your mind, on your heart, that you are pursuing as a goal, as a dream, I want to encourage you to go after it, focus, make a plan, but don't just spend all the time writing out the plan and the contingencies and the what ifs and all that. You don't have to have all the answers. I didn't have the answers. Here's my answer. I'm going to Vegas. That was the answer I knew. And I also knew I had 2 friends that lived here. That's what I knew. And I knew that this industry that I am so much of a part of, the hospitality, restaurant, hotel, service and hospitality industry, which was my ultimate goal, the Mecca is here, Las Vegas. Other than that, I didn't have a lot of answers. I made a decision and I took action, and I'm so glad that I did. That was 10 years ago today. My friends, I want to share more in the coming days about my journey. If you like this, if you gain value, whether you're watching live or on the replay, I invite you to please share it. Whether it's on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook, share it to your friends. Put a comment, share it, and I will be back, I think maybe tomorrow, possibly the next day, but I'm going to share more about my journey from 10 years ago and how I started my entrepreneurial journey. It's Christoph J. Wyman from Las Vegas. Happy holidays to you all. Be safe, be well. God bless you, and I will talk to you soon. Cheers.